Iranians were given a chance to express themselves freely as the people of Benghazi did, the people of Bayda or other cities, I have no doubt that you'll see the same sentiment of victory and being expressed. That is essentially where we are at the moment. Gaddafi defiant, barricaded in the city of Tripoli.
I noticed the hesitancy in your voice because we're looking at pictures which we're just not 100% sure about it.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. I'm also wondering, were these taken during the same time of the day? Benghazi looks like the sun has already set. Tripoli.
This was an hour ago in Tripoli. Yeah.
So I'm also asking questions about this, but I think it's not just Benghazi. I think if you look at the territory that has fallen beyond the reach of Gaddafi at the moment, it probably is close to 2/3 of the country. That would technically make Libya a failed state, a state where the established regime does not exercise control over the vast majority of the population, and where the state does not have a monopoly over the use of weapons. That is one entry point into thinking about what the international community ought to be considering at the moment.
Let's bring it back from the international community. They look at the wider Middle East, watching this sort of thing right now, because they watched Tunisia and then they watched Egypt, and we said it probably couldn't happen in Egypt, and it did, and look at Libya and think maybe it couldn't have happened there. And it could. The fear, if you like, that must be amongst regimes and leadership around the region at the moment.
Absolutely, especially the most repressive of those regimes, the ones that have not given any space to their people. Without perhaps naming countries, but I think most countries, with very few exceptions in the Arab world, require political openings that have not happened, and where there are grievances on the ground. The tighter the lid, the more iron-fisted the regime, the more probable for the winds of freedom that we've seen in Tunisia to spread elsewhere. And perhaps the more violent the tendency would be for the transition that will ensue. I'm not surprised that it's taken this long in Libya for issues to be settled. After all, this is a regime that has kept the country under tight control for 42 years with very brutal instruments and very brutal consequences. I would just want to remind the viewers also that
just quickly,
a few days ago, it wasn't the first time that Libyan jets had bombed the public in Libya. There are a couple of precedents where mutiny within various army units was in fact suppressed by the force of military using, including airjet.
I'm going to leave it there with you, Tariq, just for now. Thank you, though. I really do appreciate it. This is Tariq Yusuf, the voice you've been hearing from the Brookings Institute in Washington, but with us in Doha. We'll be talking to you more, I'm sure. Do want to just address some other news of the day very quickly. Irish voters casting their ballots in parliamentary elections. First election since it got a $113 billion financial bailout in November. The economy is a major issue expected to influence voting patterns. With spiralling unemployment and rising inflation, some analysts say this could spell the end of the current government. This is New Zealand, where rescue teams are scouring the rubble for a 5th day after a powerful earthquake in Christchurch. But the threat of aftershocks is hampering the operation. 113 people known to have died, 200 though still missing, with hopes fading pretty fast of finding survivors. The trial of an American CIA contractor accused of killing 2 men in Pakistan has been postponed until March 3rd. Security was tight at the prison in Lahore, where Raymond Davis is being held and where the hearing took place. If convicted, he faces the death penalty. But Washington says he has diplomatic immunity, therefore he should be released. Toyota is recalling more than 2 million vehicles in the United States once again. Accelerator pedals, which could become trapped in floor mats, is the concern. Toyota has now recalled more than 12 million vehicles globally since 2009 and faces dozens of lawsuits from owners. But shares in the car maker gained more than 2% in Friday trading on Tokyo's stock exchange.
2, 1.
And this is something we won't see many more times. Shuttle Discovery on an 11-day mission to supply the International Space Station. Shuttles Endeavour and Atlantis will make their final flights by June before NASA retires the ageing shuttle fleet. That is your other news of the day. Our focus is, of course, on the Middle East, protests right around the region, but particularly Libya, where we have once again heard from the Libyan leader, Muammar Gaddafi. A surprising visit in Tripoli. We'll bring you that speech and the rest of the news in a moment.
Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter. Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter.
All the news, all the time. AlJazeera.net/English.
Thank you.
Oh no! It's an astonishing moment.
We are globally yours.
From local traders to international finance, it's commerce that makes the world go round. For global companies and developing markets, communication is the currency, and information is the most valuable commodity. Counting the cost at this time on Al Jazeera.
East Timor's government has declared it's time for foreign forces to leave the country. But with a frail infrastructure, is this nation prepared to face a future without international support? 101 East at this time on Al Jazeera.
Personal blogs by professional journalists. blogs.aljazeera.net. This is Al Jazeera.
1800 hours GMT. Welcome to the News Hour on Al Jazeera. I'm Kamal Santa Maria from our Doha and London news centres. Special coverage of a day of protest right across the Middle East.
Every Libyan individual and every Libyan tribe will be armed, so Libya will turn into a burning hell.
A defiant Muammar Gaddafi issues a blunt warning during a surprise appearance in Tripoli on another day of violence across Libya. Clashes too in Iraq on a so-called day of rage over the lack of water, electricity and jobs. While Egyptians keep up the pressure on their military rulers with further rallies in Cairo's Liberation Square. And rival rallies in Yemen. The president's opponents and his supporters hit the streets of Sana'a.
I'm Stephen Cole in London with the latest reaction from Europe, including Libya's top diplomats keep on resigning, this one in the middle of a UN meeting.
So what started as Friday prayers turned into mass protests around the Middle East. Hundreds of thousands of people expressing anger at their leaders. We've got Iraq, where there was more violence there over the basics in life of electricity, food and water. There have been protests elsewhere in the region as well. This is Egypt. A year after, I should say a month after the protests began there, which did eventually oust President Mubarak. The pressure is still on the military government there. But of course, we're looking at Yemen too, where rival rallies between supporters and opponents of President Ali Abdullah Saleh continued. Deaths, injuries, arrests all reported as the authorities broke up the protests in Aden in the south of the country. So those are various parts of the region, but we focus most closely on Libya, of course, where in the last hour or so, leader Muammar Gaddafi made a surprise public appearance in front of supporters in Tripoli's Green Square. During his speech, he delivered more threats to the Libyan people This is how he did it.
Be prepared to defend Libya, to defend the Great River, to defend the oil, your dignity, independence, glory, and pride. Let them feel the shame. Let them feel the embarrassment. I am here among you, among the public in the Green Square. And here you are, the youth of Libya, the children and grandchildren of martyrs of the Battle of Jihad, who crushed the Italian invasion. The Italian Empire was smashed by your forefathers. We are able to crush any foreign aggression by people's will, by the armed people. When necessary, weapon depot will be opened. Every Libyan individual and every Libyan tribe will be armed. So Libya will turn into a burning hell. I am among the public. We will continue to fight. We will defeat them. We will die here on the dear soil of Libya. We will defeat any foreign attempt as we defeated the former Italian imperialism. This is the formidable force, invincible force of youth. Life without dignity is worthless. Life without green banners hoisted is useless. It is the life of pride, dignity, and victory. The green flag flying and hoisted. You, the youth, be comfortable at any place, in the streets, squares, dance, sing, stay up all night, live a life of dignity with high morals. Muammar al-Qaddafi is one of you. Dance and sing, joy and rejoice.
Well, earlier troops and militia loyal to Gaddafi opened fire on protesters in Tripoli. The very protesters calling for him to go. Witnesses have told Al Jazeera at least 5 people were killed. Lawrence Lee wraps up the day's events.
At Friday prayers, the people of Tripoli received this advice, and just to make sure they understood it,